Hello everyone, this is Alexandre from Gains. I hope you're all doing great today. I have a special guest, Rick Schmitz from LTO Network. How are you doing, Rick?
Hey Alex, I'm doing perfectly fine, man. How about you?
I'm great. Happy to have you and to learn more about LTO. I have to say it's a project I've been following since the beginning, and it's been great to see how it's evolving, and you guys are very persistent and really hardworking, so it's really great. I'm looking forward to all your details and what LTO is about today. What did you do before crypto, right? What's your background, and then what made you come into crypto?
So I started out as a tax lawyer, worked at Deloitte and PricewaterhouseCoopers doing M&A deals. From there, I started a company called Firm24.com, which is still in existence today. It incorporates about 20% of every vehicle in the Netherlands. And from there, we basically saw the frustration of data being shared between multiple stakeholders and how that worked in the current setting. So we thought of, hey, how can we make the problem of data silos where people need to collaborate on a process? How can we solve this? And then we came across blockchain technique, and it was already back in 2014, quite a while back. So we started playing with smart contracts, set up a node already back in 2014, participated in the ICO as well there. And we saw the technique was lacking for the purpose what we needed it for. So we needed to have it as a workflow to share data amongst these participants that enter this workflow. So we decided to start something of ourselves, and that evolved into LTO Network. That's how we basically came from a normal, regular business into the crypto space. We came across some people who were deeply involved in the crypto space and said, okay, why not do an ICO to fund this project? And that's when 2017, the seed round was initiated by us, and later on in 2019 already, we did the ICO itself through a smart contract.
You mentioned that you want to help businesses share information, right? But for people who might not have like business experience, that might still be a bit vague. Like, why do businesses share data? And businesses have existed for thousands of years. How did they do before that? And what's the real value added?
If multiple stakeholders work on a certain process, what happens is the following. Company A wants to share something with company B in a process. So basically, it gathers all the information and then sends it in a PDF form. So basically, put all the structured data that he has in his system, put it in a PDF or in an email or call it through to party B, so that party B can put it in his system. And then party C is involved. He needs that data also to move on to the next step in the process. So basically, you have only three parties that need to share data, and what they all do is put it into their own silos so that they can benefit from automation within their companies. Putting it into CRM system, ERP system, to make sure that all the data is processed automatically. So we said, why not put a layer between those systems so that they can communicate structured data? So if party A wants to share something with party B and then subsequently with party C, D, E, and F, they can benefit by sharing that data across the stakeholders for a single process, where only the data is shared that is actually needed to complete the next step for that person. We figured out that there were big benefits for blockchain technology because you want to be certain that the data that is sent to the other party is the data that was at party A, and you want to have a proof of that. So that's when the blockchain part came in. So, okay, if party A shares with B and subsequently with C, then we need to know that the party A actually signed the data off, that it was actually valid, and that he's responsible for the data he shared with party B. So that party B can always say, hey, the data I received from party A was actually that data. And he can prove that to party C if needed by signing the data and storing the transaction hash of that data into our public chain.
So what you just said at the end, some blockchains for business, they're private and permissioned. What's the LTO blockchain? How is it? I read that it's hybrid. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, you have everything is machine to machine. It's the software systems and the smart contracts that basically execute based on what an Oracle tells them to do. But in the real world, people need to give input as well. And machines that are not connected to the blockchain needs to give input as well. That's why we came up with two layers. Basically a layer which is fully private and only is shared across the participant on a single process level. But if you only have 2 or maybe 3 parties involved, it's not very secure because the transaction can be altered by 2 parties. Basically, if we would conclude a contract and share data amongst each other and you are changing it into your benefit, we need to go to the court and say, hey, yeah, this is the real data. And I say, no, this is the real data. So in these private layers, we need something else to secure the data that has been sent in the workflows that's also secured. So basically what we do, we wrap the data into a hash, and this hash is put onto the public chain. And in the public chain, everybody can participate. So everybody can set up a node with 1,000 LTO, which is like a tenor, and can secure and have a copy of these transactions. And every time a block in the private chain gets shared, a block of data gets shared in the private chain, an anchor is placed onto the public chain without having access to the actual data, because otherwise it wouldn't be GDPR compliant, which is a very big problem in Europe, which is a very big problem for blockchains also in general in Europe.
Right, so it's very clever because then these private companies can prove that the data is real only if they need to, if there's like some people that are disagreeing, like you just said. You were just telling us that anyone with 1,000 LTO can spin up a node, and these nodes, they are staking rewards. What's the ROI on these, and how do you make sure that the inflation doesn't make the price go down too much, that all these kind of free tokens don't get dumped on the market?
It's very simple. We don't have inflation on the network. We actually have deflation on the network. So we don't print new tokens or issue new tokens basically to give away to the nodes and to pump into the network. Basically, every transaction that goes around in the network is paid by clients, and they do that on their own expenses. So for every transaction, like a block of data or a document gets anchored, they pay .35 LTO, of which .1 LTO is burned on every transaction. So basically, that makes it deflationary, the system. So that's why everybody benefits from that, because the price actually should go up with every burn you do. That because it lowers the circulating supply. In regard to the APR, I think we're currently on 8% on an annual basis, and that has been steadily growing, since the beginning of the launch of mainnet, which was early 2019 already.
Cool. There are like more than 1 million LTOs staked, which is kind of crazy, right? It's like nearly a fourth of the total supply. That's a pretty interesting figure, right? I think it's pretty easy to create a node on LTO, right?
Yeah, I'm extremely proud of 100 million LTO being staked, because if you look at the circulating supply in the team, and like if you would exclude team wallets, M&A wallets, and stuff like that, it is more than 2/3 of the entire circulating supply being staked on the network. So only 1/3 is in trading wallets. With that number growing rapidly, it could easily make the price jump up when large buy orders jump in. So that is actually really good. The persistency of the support in the last years, and the increase of people staking on the network and benefiting from the APR. That's one of the coolest things I've seen. And why do more and more people join? Because the transactions are growing so fast on the network. More and more parties decide to use LTO network as a blockchain to secure their data. We will see that number growing in the next years.
Right, like on your website, it's actually crazy when you think about it, right? I think you have a valuation like 15 million, and you're probably ranked 300 or 400, like correct me if I'm wrong. You're a top 20 blockchain by transactions, right? Like more than 50,000 daily transactions. That could be a sign, I mean, not financial advice, but that you might be undervalued.
maybe this is because we just keep on working. Basically, we can better under promise, over deliver than do the other way around, because you see a lot of empty partnerships these days, right? Like if you would make integration for your node on Google platform or whatever other platform, it is a partnership. And I don't think that way. We don't have a partnership with Google, although we do have a very easy deploy to Google Cloud. And a lot of people also run nodes in Google Cloud, but yet no partnership with Mr. Google. And I see this a lot happening in the crypto space. And I think that's like total bullocks. I really think this space should mature, and that's where we stand for. We show what the value is of having a blockchain being integrated into real world business. That's basically where we get our revenues from. That's where we build our company on. And that's where you will see the growth of the network coming from. And not from a Fugazi thing that we have been seeing too much in the past years.
Right, so I actually have so many questions I want to ask you, but you were just speaking about revenues. So is LTO profitable? How are you doing financially today?
Yeah, we're doing good. We had a very good 2019 year. We do have revenues. In 2019, we closed with a profit. 2020 started a little bit less good due to the COVID-19. Projects were put on hold. And I actually, during, let's say, May or something, when all the projects were, I thought they were being canceled, they came back alive just a little into August. So then everybody thought, okay, this is going back again. The markets were turning green again. And that's when also projects that I already written off came back. So there's a lot of big stuff in the pipeline that's going to be launched within the next 3 months, which is extremely good for LTO, putting us on the map. So I'm glad that these projects came back. Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot from this.
All right, teasing a bit, I like it. And so the other question I wanted to ask you, since we agree 100% on the fake partnerships in crypto, is kind of funny. Another example of partnership that is easily in the Google and Amazon category, just people using their services, is IBM. So can you tell us about your real partnership with IBM?
Yeah, that is together with VID, VIDT maybe as a token. It's a project in the Netherlands as well, from Marnix van der Burg. We have very close contact with them, and that was on the Internet of Environments. The sensor data, in collaboration with IBM, is placed through the portal of IBM on LTO Network. So the VIDT data link API is used on the platform of IBM system to monitor these sensors, and then it's stored on the LTO Network blockchain, the hash of that anchored data. So that's basically the project we have with VIDT that involves IBM. The other thing that we did with IBM is for a case we did with the Ministry of Justice to make the data that goes around in the petty theft space. So that you have like 1 million plus cases in the Netherlands where you have petty theft, like shoplifting or something like that. They want to automate these cases using IBM Watson. So we said, okay, we can use blockchain and IBM Watson together, because the private chain layers that we use, this data is structured. It's JSON going around there. So we can feed that process data of, let's say, a shoplifting, and put them to Watson and give an answer back on chain saying, okay, in the last 5 cases, you said a fine of 100 euros for the shoplifter. Do you want that again? So that's what we built the MVP for the Ministry of Justice. And also, we can also deploy nodes on IBM's cloud. But that was not the point.
Right. Cool. And so you mentioned you're in the Netherlands, right? I mean, the Netherlands, personally, I like the country very much. Amsterdam's an awesome city, and it's also very active in crypto. And you're working with many universities. You also mention on your website, because it's good, it kind of remain kind of vague for some people when you say that you facilitate, sharing data that can be cited for businesses. But something very concrete is that you're saving $7 million in efficiency costs for the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure. So that's like a real big number that will make people realize that something is real. So can you explain what you're doing like in the Dutch scene, if there's anything you'd like to share, any details?
Yeah, so waste transportation is a very complex process with a lot of paperwork going around. Think of permits you need to transport waste, especially when it goes cross-border. You need a lot of more documentation. Then you have the type of waste that you need to process. Then you have the processors that need to verify the type of waste, how much is going to be processed, and how much should be subtracted from the license you have to ship that waste. You have between Netherlands and Belgium alone, where this MVP was built for, you have 500,000 transportations on an annual basis alone of waste. So what happened before blockchain is that a fax need to be sent to the Ministry of Infrastructure, where you would get an okay to transport, do a couple of transports when you requested for a certain type of waste. And with this okay, you're able to transport the waste from A to B. But you could have sample checks on the border to check whether the waste you've been asked to do to ship, whether that is actually the waste that's in your containers. The processors of the waste, let's say Indaver or AVR, and that process the waste, they need to fax back to the Ministry of Infrastructure, like, okay, we have processed this many tons of this type of waste we received, subtract that from his license. This is in a simple way a description of how this would work. So you have a lot of paper streams going around and a lot of, unstructured data that takes a lot of manual handling to put into the systems, because you have approximately 15 systems that need to be updated every time a waste goes from A to B, maybe to C to D. So we said, okay, let's make this process, which is already codified for years, let's structure this and let's send structured data to everybody who's involved in this process, where they can pull that data into their own systems, so that you get an automatic okay when you have still enough transportations and number of kilograms in the permit. So the permit basically exists on chain. The subtraction automatically happens on transportation permit. And this already saves so much time. So processing time goes from a process that would normally take between 1 hour and 2 hours, it would go down to like 15 minutes. So the time saved is incredible. So I think rolling this out to Europe would be like next level efficiency in just one single transportation area being waste. So yeah, with that said, there's still a long route to go for blockchain in general with these kind of solutions. The market is still exploring the techniques and how everybody could benefit from this. But you will see more and more implementations in the next few years.
I mean, that's very interesting, because from an outsider point of view, like, we have no idea how complex everything is, how long, how strenuous the process is. And I guess like the next question is, when are you going to collaborate with other countries or the governments to put this system and facilitate everything and save time and money for everyone?
Yeah, it's obviously always a hard and lengthy process to involve every country in Europe. You either need legislation that states that you need to do this, or parties need to collaborate. And because waste transportation is not purely a government play, but it also involves in the process a lot of parties that are commercial. Like the processors of waste are most of the time, it are just companies. And the transportation companies are all companies, that's not government. So because everybody needs to participate, it is really hard to form a consortium through Europe with all the parties involved. That's why we also say, okay, everybody should, that's where the hybrid model also comes into play of LTO. Everybody can start at his own pace. So you can set up a node yourself or participate via another node to receive the data, or not receive the data at all, but get it sent into a PDF automatically from that other party. And then you need to process manually. But the consortium doesn't need to be formed entirely before you can already start benefiting from the efficiency with just a couple of parties. It just needs a lot of awareness in the industry that it grows. Until everything is on chain, I think we are definitely a decade from now.
Another very cool use case I saw, you have a video on your YouTube channel. It's about embedding QR codes into diamonds to authenticate them. It is always like there's an issue when you try to link the physical world with the digital world, because right, you could put ashes on the blockchain, but how do you make sure these ashes actually correspond to the physical object or property or whatever it is? Could you tell us a bit about that?
The cool thing here is that the diamonds are unique, right? So they have a little QR identifier printed in them. And with this code, you can verify the transaction on our blockchain, whether this diamond has the certificate it needs and whether the certificate has not been revoked because it was stolen. Because there is a lot of like black market industry in diamonds. What you want to do is eliminate this black market industry when it involves luxury goods and diamonds and stuff like that. And also, like from an insurance perspective, it's really, really interesting because if you can track the diamond, you get a reduction on insuring your luxury goods, or in this case, diamonds. So basically, everybody benefits from an implementation like this. We take out the black market, and we are getting reduced on insuring our luxury goods like diamonds.
Any other cool use case you'd like to mention, or anything you're working on, for example?
In the next few weeks, we are announcing the project where we have been working on since 1.5 years. The contract is signed like a month ago, and it is one of the biggest projects out in crypto space, I guess. So it is incredibly cool having this being announced. And I said, let's wait for it until the party that we collaborated on with this is going to announce it instead of the other way around. So a little bit more patience, but that is something that everybody will lick his fingers of happiness of how cool this project is.
Sounds very exciting. We can feel how happy you are. You probably worked a lot for this to happen. So what do you think of DeFi, right? It's been like 3-4 months that the market has been crazy. I've seen recently LTO is talking about DeFi as well. Tons of projects have jumped on the DeFi bandwagon. What do you think overall about DeFi, and how can LTO integrate into DeFi?
DeFi, from my perspective, is a great other step to majority of the blockchain space. It does make sense also having a DeFi mechanism as a project itself. In order to create liquidity without bringing more tokens onto the market, I think it's a good idea to use DeFi. We are now doing it more from a community perspective so that they can farm liquidity more. So I think that is the project we're currently doing on Uniswap. That's cool, but that's more from a marketing perspective. For LTO, we will be functioning as an oracle, and that's for the DeFi space. And that's all I can say for now. But this is definitely something you'll be seeing in Q1, Q2 of next year.
Another thing I'm very curious about is, where do you think crypto will be in 3 or 5 years? And many people have different answer, and I think you will have like a very interesting insight because you're working with a lot of companies that are actually using blockchain. So you're seeing adoption on another level, right? Like ahead of all this crypto speculation and all that. So where do you think crypto is going? What are the good things, right, that can come out of it? What are the challenges maybe also as well?
Yeah, I think in 3 to 5 years, we will see like major majority of the world using crypto, and they don't realize they're actually using it. I think currencies will be crypto, having electronic coins instead of a pile of US dollars or euros into your pocket. I also think that it will become highly regulated. So it's still cowboy land out there, and especially with the DeFi hype going on right now, it is still pretty anonymous, right? So you can still transfer money without basically identifying yourself. I think that Binance will be also come regulated and will get banking license. It already happened for Kraken, banking license for Coinbase, and basically all the other major players in the market will need to start complying with compliance regulation in order for users to pull out their money. So in order to basically do stuff with crypto in the space. So I think that regulation will increase rapidly in the next few years. And with that, more serious players and more businesses will start joining this and seeing this as a serious alternative of either finance, doing business, securing assets, and everything that you can do in the blockchain world. I think 3 years, you will be seeing this getting started. In 5 years, we are already really far, because once this happens, things go fast.
Cool. Very interesting. All right. Let me ask you some questions about yourself right now, to finish. Do you have like a routine? How do you manage like being CEO of LTO Network? Tell us a bit about it. I'm assuming like it's quite stressful, but also exciting.
I love chaos. This is what drives me. So the more chaos I have around me, the better I personally do, because I love to find the opportunities within a very chaotic space. The cool thing is that I'm part of something that is so still immature, right? And making baby steps towards that, well, 5 years from now, where I think that actual majority of the world uses blockchain, being part of that now for already like 4 years, makes me happy every day and makes me come out of my bed. The speed of which you can do business within this space is incredible. If you deal with like the Ivy League businesses, it takes forever to conclude a deal. Mentioning that 1.5 years I spent on a really big project with a big name, with a household name. And like in crypto, it is like a week is already long, right? If you cannot make a deal in a week, it's basically over. It's like super fast. And that's what I really like about this. And it's also the open sourceness and the open source character of this space. People are opening up their code, are willing to help each other out. And yeah, the openness and the open character of everybody here. And basically, everybody who joins your project, including, basically all the LTO nodes that are helping us out to get more attention on the project, it's something that makes me happy every day and makes me come to work and say to the team, let's do this again, guys. So yeah, that's basically what I love about this.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. That's something I also feel, that it's the space is so exciting. The people in this space, they're like adventures, like you said, it's still cowboy land. There's still like lots of scammers and all that, but you do feel like it can become something real and big in a few years, which is quite soon in the grand scheme of things. So it's a pretty cool moment I think we're living. Do you have time to read books? And if so, what are a few books that you read recently that you liked and that you'd like to recommend, for example?
Ooh, yeah, I read the book. It was already a few months back. The Lean Startup of Eric Ries. I heard a lot of people saying, hey, you should have a look at this, just to have your team realize like how you would iterate within short circles, basically coming from the software space. I really like that book. Maybe we already are implementing it a long time ago, but I thought it was okay. And I needed to read the story of the Winklevoss twins, Bitcoin billionaires. It was hilarious. It was their side of the Facebook story. Obviously, a lot of people have seen the movie Social Networks, which basically was written out of the perspective of Zuckerberg. And now I saw the Winklevoss side in Bitcoin billionaires and their view on the crypto space, rolling into Gemini exchange. And I think it's remarkable how these guys are able to spot opportunities in the early stage. So I definitely recommend that for people in crypto space. It's really good fun to read.
Awesome. And I mean, that just makes me think that with just how crazy the crypto space is, like, I'm sure there's going to be a market segment for movies about what happened in crypto, like, and books as well, just telling all these crazy stories. Do you have any advice for people who are jumping in crypto? Maybe Bitcoin hits an all-time high again and all the general media talk about it. New people that are maybe less tech savvy and are going to jump in, it's going to be crazy again. What would you say to these people if they see the video maybe in 6 months because they heard of LTO?
Yeah, if you want to join a project that is, well, basically a study project that is willing to take it to the next level and the next mile, then it will be an honor for me to join our cool community and see what we're up to and learn from everything we do and talk to the integrators and tech team if you want to set up a node. And if you want to anchor much cheaper than, let's say, on Ethereum, then basically join us.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Rick?
No, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank the audience for listening to this awesome video. And well, up to the next one, Alex. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Rick. See you guys. Hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.
Thanks.